Welcome to the Pink Sphere podcast. This is your 30 minutes of pink, your weekly space to pause, reflect, and get into conversations that actually make sense for your life. Each week, we're joined by one of our incredible coaches to talk about something that matters. And today, we're talking style. Not what's in this season, but how you build a wardrobe that feels like you, whether you're into flowy dresses, sharp tailoring, or joggers in a blazer. And today we have Caitlin with us, our virtual stylist, online shopper, and someone who's really good at helping women stop panic buying trends and start dressing with more purpose. Hi, Caitlin. I'm so glad you're here. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. And thank you for that lovely intro. How are
Thank
you?
you for being here. I'm fine. And I want to start with my first question before losing any more time. First question, okay? How do you personally define difference between a trend and a timeless piece?
So that's a great question. I think when you look at trends, and when I'm going to be talking about trends within this podcast, I think I'm going to be talking about kind of moments in time versus timeless pieces as something that will remain relevant over and over again. So if we have a think about kind of big cultural moments, pop cultural moments, so the Barbie movie, for example, and how
Yeah.
that drove pink, or if we look at Brat Summer with Charlie XCX and how that drove a certain aesthetic and a certain style, they're what we would call trends. Whereas when we're looking at more timeless pieces, it is like focusing on kind of that timeless style that will be relevant and look good over and over again.
And why? How do you think social media has effect on the trends? And also the TV series as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are magazines that keep sharing the styles of a celebrity and sharing the pieces that you can purchase. I think it has a lot of effect on
Yeah,
us without perhaps realizing it because we want to look like them.
yeah,
We want to be seen, perceived like them, and we keep purchasing those pieces
yeah.
and create a style that doesn't belong to us or to somebody else. So, how do you think social media really affect the trend and our purchasing style?
Yeah, I think it affects us massively. So I think really with social media, people are constantly kind of, seeing celebrities wearing certain things, and it's really influencing our purchasing behavior. And I also think with social media, on socials, we people aren't necessarily completely honest, and they want to portray this
Yeah.
lavish, beautiful lifestyle. So consumerism and the buy is really like driving people's decision making, and people are constantly buying new outfits to post on social media. It's really driven sales within fast fashion. And ultimately, if we want to look at sustainability, it's not great for that. So I do think that there's starting to be a little bit of a shift there, and people are starting to look at smaller brands and more sustainable brands, and longevity pieces, especially as we're in a bit of a cost of living crisis. But I think social media has massively driven like trends and made people go a little bit trend mad, and maybe not focusing on their own kind of identity and just really kind of following what multiple people are doing, and therefore kind of continually buying lots of different things that maybe they're not going to want in 6 months to a year.
Yeah. What do you think is better? Try to follow the trends one after the other, or just creating your personal style, your identity, your personal branding,
Yeah,
right? With the pieces that you have. Which one is better? Which one should we do?
I definitely think you should focus on your own personal branding, because I think, clothes is a way that we can all create this identity for ourselves, and show kind of our personality and who we are and what we're about, externally. And it's a really kind of powerful tool that we can use like that. And where we get stuck into like kind of following different people, we end up losing a bit of that identity. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I don't buy into any trend. Of course I do. But I kind of try and advise to my clients like a 80 to 20% rule. And if you focus on 80% of like more kind of timeless pieces, think about excuse me, think about building your more capsule collection, And then you can interject about 20% of trend. One, it's more cost effective for you, and two, you kind of you're there, you're staying relevant, but you equally still have your own kind of twist on it.
And one thing I have to tell you, for colors, I think you should have your colors as well, right? You should
Mm-hmm.
have your colors based on your skin tone, your hair color, and your features. I don't
Yeah.
know, you know better. So, one thing that not many people know is because this is called the pink sphere and nothing else. I was really insecure with what I wore, okay, with
Mm-hmm.
my style. I mostly wore black, and on my daily life I keep doing that still. But because the pink was something that gave me the vibe that you have to be like princess like. I
Yes.
don't know. I don't know if it makes sense. Whereas black gave me this underdog feeling, which I am, you know, and I have always had to be this strong person,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have time to be a princess.
Yeah.
So, with the pink sphere, I almost challenged myself to come out of my comfort zone and try to look more princess like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To have this color that gives me the challenge every day to wear it, to use it on my brand. You can see I have pink cushions back there, but it started to come to my life real slowly
Yeah.
because with the pink sphere I'm changing,
Mm-hmm.
and with the color as well. It's such an important thing to have color in your lives.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, for the people that are listening us, how do you suggest they choose the colors that suit them the best?
Mm-hmm.
Is this
Yeah.
is this question so long? I don't know why
No,
I
no,
asked like that. I
it's
have no
great.
idea.
No, that's great. And I think you're completely right. Color is such a powerful tool. I used to work for a trend forecasting company, and whenever a country would go through, or this actually happened globally, go through significant change, like cost of livings or recessions, often we see brands interject more color to help lift mood. So you're completely right. How literally just wearing a color can change how you feel. And black is a great fashion color.
I
It's a
love
cool
it.
color.
I just
Yeah,
love it.
it's a
Every day,
staple.
all day, forever.
I would probably say 50% of my wardrobe is black because it is very easy and it goes with most colors. But I think we all need to remember that actually color can drive mood, like you said. It can drive a feeling, it can drive an emotion. It's used within not just fashion but within film, within art. it's
Yeah.
it's it's a very, very powerful tool. So I think everyone should lean into color and try and
Yeah.
express themselves through color. But yes, there's so many different ways to kind of figure out the right color for you, and whether that is your skin tone, your eye color, your hair color. So maybe I can pull together a little something, and we can do a little blog post on
Yes.
a bit
Yes.
about color, because it's whether you've kind of got that reddish undertone or a bluish undertone
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
yellowish undertone, will all change kind of whether you're an
Yeah. Yeah.
autumn, you're a spring, you're a summer. So I can pull together a little something for the pink sphere girlies.
Yeah.
And
We can do a whole episode about it too.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. And a
Just to
workshop.
understand your color. Yes.
Okay.
Just to understand your color a little bit more. But I would definitely say lean into it, and don't be afraid to play with color. It's can really
Yeah.
change how you feel about yourself and how kind of people perceive you also.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. And I'll go ahead with my other question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How can someone build a wardrobe that says that stays current without constantly buying new clothes? What
Mm-hmm.
is the tip? What's the trick? You know?
Yeah. So I would say focus on uh that 80/20 that I just spoke about. Focus on
Mm-hmm.
80% looking at the right things that fit you correctly. Because if something fits you correctly, you will
Mm-hmm.
always look good and you will always feel confident. I would also say focus on material, focus on good fabrics. I tend to try and buy a lot of natural fibers because I think they're just a bit nicer on the
Mm-hmm.
skin and nicer to the planet. But if you can buys those slightly more premium fabrics, the quality of the garments are going to continually look good. So you're not going to feel like you need to change and update things. And I also think if you focus on kind of those timeless shapes, you know, everyone needs to have like a good fitting pair of jeans in their wardrobe. You need to have the right blazer. You need to have some good basics, you know, a nice piece of knitwear, and you can build a look around those few items and just add an accessory here and there and constantly feel like you're looking stylish and you're looking considered. So I think focusing on fit and focusing on quality will help you feel good in your clothes, even if you've had them in your wardrobe for 5 years.
Right, right. And do you have a few, timeless piece advices
Mm-hmm.
for the listeners that they can have in their wardrobes and they can style them easily
Mm-hmm.
for any events they're
For any
attending, anything,
occasion.
any
Yeah.
occasion? Yes, that's the word.
Yes, so I would definitely say you need a good pair of trousers. So jeans, 100%, which I just mentioned those.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
a good pair of trousers because a good pair of trousers can be dressed up, can be dressed down. You can
Mm-hmm.
put it with a graphic tee and pop and go and get a coffee with your girlfriends. Or you could style it with a classic white shirt and, I don't know, a loafer, and you're ready to go and do an important business meeting. So I think that's a staple. I also would say a blazer because, again,
Mm-hmm.
that can be paired down with jeans, it could be paired down with joggers, or it could be dressed up with those smart trousers, and you feel it takes you into different kind of moods and different zones. And then I think it's the basics. I think if you can invest in some good basics and not just kind of jersey basics, but also knitwear and like classic white shirt or something like that, then you will have kind of that timeless piece. Like they constantly stay within fashion. You can constantly go and find a classic white shirt and a classic white
Mm-hmm.
t-shirt in basically every
Yeah,
brand that you're
everywhere.
looking at
Yeah.
because it's a staple piece in your wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would kind of say. I think in terms of color as well, you would want to lean towards kind of those more core colors,
Mm-hmm.
to build that kind of more classic look, and then you can interject with that 20% the colors of the season. So then you know that you've got those staples, the classic navies, you know, classic khakis, black, white
Yeah.
in your wardrobe, and then you interject those little bits of trend color, and that just refreshes your wardrobe for the season that you're currently in.
Do you recommend any rules or ratios? Like you should have one trendy piece for every three classics, or you should have five shirts, 10 blouses. I don't know. Do you have any amount?
Yeah, so I think in terms of, you know, going into the detail of the items, it
Mm-hmm.
would really depend on you, your body shape, how you dress, the aesthetic you like. But I
And your
would
lifestyle,
and
right?
your
And your,
lifestyle, your
yeah.
job, you know, what you do how you spend most of your day. So
Mm-hmm.
it is really dependent on kind of like who you are as a person. But I would just focus, and I'm going to say it again, that 80-20 rule. I think if you can build your wardrobe around 80% of those kind of more timeless pieces, and you can create that capsule, then you can interject with 20%. You're not going to be spending all of
Mm-hmm.
your income trying to constantly have newness. You will also feel like you have got a little bit of those trend pieces, whether it's through color, through accessories, or through like the key shape of the
Mm-hmm.
season. So that's what I would do. Focus on building 80% of your classic timeless, and then you can use 20% for trend.
Mm-hmm. And I believe there are lots of women just like me. I have lots of clothes in my wardrobe, like 15 years of sweatshirts
Mm-hmm.
and pants and stuff that I cannot throw out because they kind of have a meaning. I
Yeah,
don't know, but I will not wear them. I know I won't, right? And I want to just make it again, make a whole wardrobe for myself with, timeless pieces and change my style, but I cannot make space from them.
yeah.
What do you suggest in that case? What should I do? Should I just donate them or throw them out? Or
So I am a massive kind of like circular fashion advocate, let's say.
Mhm.
So I have just had to do it myself, where I've been away, and I've just come back, and I was like, okay, we need to make some room in this room because it is spilling over. And it's the same, like, trends, or what happens in terms of like what's stylish tends to be a circular motion. So we've recently had like a lot of 90s fashion come back, like the resurgence. We also had like a 70s, like about 4 years ago, with flares and little tiny crop
Yeah,
t-shirts.
yeah.
So you feel, you get a bit attached, and you're like, but what if I'm going to need that in 5 years?
Yeah.
So I do completely feel like, understand you, and I have the exact same problem. But I think reselling things could be a really nice way, because you're giving
No.
I was going to say, you're giving new love and new life to those clothes. So whether it's reselling or donating, it's like somebody else is going to be able to enjoy it and use those clothes. So, and then you've made a bit of room to invest into something else. So, but yeah, it's maybe not for everyone, and it is quite hard to get rid of some things that are quite close to the heart. But the memories will always stay there.
Yeah, yeah, but there are some comfy clothes that you have
Mhm.
that you cannot replace them, just put over a jean, and you're done, you're
Mhm.
styled, and everything's fine. And there are some pieces that they're sitting at the back of the wardrobe. You cannot see them, but they are there,
Yeah.
right? And you can't give them, you can't sell them. Um, do you think you can still use them to create a new style with the
Mhm.
accessories, for example,
Yeah.
with new accessories, bags, necklaces, anything?
Yeah, I do. I think, to be honest, most of us probably have enough things in our wardrobes that we could completely refresh
Mm-hmm.
um, the feel of it. We just need to learn how to style it in new ways. So it might just be a case of, layering things slightly differently, or pairing it with
Mm-hmm.
something slightly differently, whether that's an accessory or a different type of shoe.
Mm-hmm.
But 100%, you should pull them out of the back of the wardrobe. See what you've got there, and try it
Yeah.
on with some different things,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you will feel differently once you've, I think it's the pairing that you need to have a look at there, and yeah, it will
Yes.
it will give it a new lease of life.
I feel like it takes so much time. I keep postponing that task
Mm.
for another day, for another season, and then I never get
And then
myself
it just,
around to
they
doing it.
stay in the
Yeah.
back of the wardrobe.
Yeah. And regarding the accessories, okay,
Hmm.
how many pieces should you have? Like, how many belts would be enough just for starting up,
Yeah.
for leveling up your style? Or how many bags should you have?
Hmm.
Shoes? Do you have any rules for that, or any suggestions for that?
So I do sometimes think less is more. I think
Mm-hmm.
when we give ourselves too much choice, and that's a pattern that I think we've all fallen into a little bit, with the rise in fast fashion and being able to buy things so cheap, and less is more sometimes. Sometimes you just need that classic core belt, that classic, like, for example, if you're looking at bags, like you've said,
Mm-hmm.
you'd probably want a backpack for the days where you're going to the gym, or you need to carry a laptop. Then you want to have a classic day bag, and then you need an evening bag. Obviously people layer on top of that, but in terms of where you want to start,
Mm-hmm.
don't overcomplicate things.
Mm-hmm.
Keep things quite simple. In terms of shoes, you don't need 10 pairs of trainers, you just need the right pair.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say less is more. And I think if you are looking to kind of revamp your wardrobe,
Mm-hmm.
um, getting rid of some of the clutter can really help you actually think and see, how can I pair things differently? And I haven't tried that with that, because the choices come so much, it comes down, it makes things a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. And regarding the colors for
Hmm.
accessories, should you go with black, white, and brown, or cream?
Hmm.
Or should you put colors in that as well? But for the starters, I mean, for the first time you're making a whole new style, should you go with the basics?
So I think accessories is where you can have a little bit more fun. I would
Hmm.
say that your kind of core pieces of clothing, you could focus more on the core colors, and then accessories, whether that's adding a beanie, or it's adding a scarf, or it's a pair of socks, you
Mm-hmm.
can play a little bit more, because they're this kind of small interjections of fun. So I
Mm-hmm.
would definitely say, go for your favorite colors. on your accessories, and then you can focus on building building that color up into the rest of your wardrobe. But while you're starting out, focus on core colors for your clothing, and then have a bit of fun with your accessories.
So, Kate, in what role does sustainability play in your approach to styling trends versus timeless pieces?
So I would say that, most people are trying to lean towards a more sustainable approach. And I think actually focusing on more timeless pieces over kind of those micro trends is going to play into that. I always say the most sustainable piece of clothing you have is one that's already in your wardrobe. So constantly buying new, even if it's from a sustainable brand, is not as a sustainable choice as picking something you already have. So if you can focus on creating that timeless, the majority of your wardrobe being a bit more timeless and good quality, nice fit, and things that you can pull out and wear over and over again and feel considered, feel stylish, then you're already making a much more sustainable approach. Because if you are just focusing on those kind of micro moments that, are driven by pop culture or driven by celebrities, they will die, and you will end up with lots of things that you actually no longer feel are relevant. So that would be my approach. And then of course you can have a look at secondhand. So I'm a
Yeah, I
massive
was just about to ask that. Yeah, what do you think about that? Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I think you can find so much amazing product that is pre-loved, let's say, and it's going to be way more cost effective for you. It's also better for the planet. So I'm a massive advocate for it. Often I will see things that I like, and the first place I'll look is, can I find that on Vinted? And often you can find it on Vinted for half the price. So I definitely am an advocate for it. And I think if you are, the one issue with secondhand is you can't try it on. So
Yeah.
I would potentially say focus on brands that you already have shopped at, and that you know the
You
fit,
know the
and
size.
you
Yeah.
know your size. But yes, I'm definitely an advocate for secondhand and pre-loved clothing.
But there are people who don't feel comfortable wearing other people's clothes, right? Have you
Yeah.
met people like that?
Yes, so definitely, I've got a lot of friends who, aren't massively into pre-loved or secondhand clothing. So I think if you are still trying to make more sustainable choices, you should just definitely look at the brands that you're shopping at, and the fabrications that you're choosing, and also then focusing on those pieces that will last 10 to 15 years rather than 10 to 15 months.
And what are your thoughts about vintage clothing?
Love
You like
vintage.
it?
Yeah, like I said, with trends, they always seem to come back around. So the resurgence of the 90s, or big kind of, there's been a bit of a 60s print drive and things like that. They always seem to come around, and so you can often find some really great pieces that were from the first time that these trends were in fashion. So I think definitely if you like those kind of like what's the best way to describe it, if you like those, I guess, vintage trends,
Yeah.
then I think vintage is great. And you can also find a lot of very unique things. So where we were speaking about personal style, I think shopping in vintage, you can often find pieces where you're not going to go to a bar and see two or three other people wearing it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what sets it apart, right? You'll have
Yes,
it
yeah,
and no one else.
and
Yeah.
nobody else will.
Yeah. And I want to ask you, so for example, if there's any ladies watching us today and they want to book a session with you, they go to the Pink Sphere website. How do you help them? What do you do? You know?
Yeah, great
For
question.
example, how does the session work? I know
Yeah.
how it does, but can you explain a little bit how those sessions work and in
Yeah,
what ways
cool.
you can help that lady?
Of course. So there's many different ways that I can help you, and I think it would really depend on where you're at in kind of your journey, whether you're just looking to kind of learn some new tips and tricks on how to style what you currently have, whether you have just got a job or maybe just had a child and you want to look at updating your wardrobe, or you, I don't know, want to look at colours. It really depends on kind of what your focus is, but there's many different ways in which we can help. And I will always start by spending the first session really understanding kind of you, the aesthetic you're looking for, and the reasons behind why you potentially want to work with a stylist. And then from there we can obviously tailor the session. But I would say, yeah, no matter kind of where you're at in your journey and what you need help with, even if it's actually that you've got an event that's coming up, you've got a wedding, or you've got a gala, or you've got an award show, whatever it is, and that's, you just need support for finding, you know, looks for that specific moment, or it's about, you know, can you just help me breathe a bit of life into my wardrobe? No matter kind of where you're at, there's many things that we can do to kind of help support you.
Yeah, I'll book a session with you. After this recording, I'll book a session with you. So, Caitlin, if you had one message to anyone listening us today, like any tip to make them feel more confident about their style or what they have in their wardrobes, what would it be as a rep, you know?
Yeah. I would say dress for you and nobody else. I think we can all feel a bit of pressure and you know, feel like we need to follow suit in so many different ways, and, you know, oh, like everyone's wearing that and maybe I should wear that. I think, you know, try and block out that kind of noise and dress for you, because I do really think that clothing is such a powerful tool in expressing yourself and how you put yourself out into the world, and ultimately can really help drive your confidence. So, you know, stop looking at what everyone else is doing. Stop thinking that everyone else is you know, maybe judging you, or because it's really not the case, and start just focusing on what makes you happy, what makes you feel confident, what makes you feel beautiful, what makes you feel powerful. And I don't think you can go far wrong if you start listening really to yourself.
Yeah, amazing. Well put. Very well put. Thank you, Caitlin. And that's a wrap on this week's 30 Minutes of Pink. Huge thanks to Caitlin for helping us rethink the way we shop, dress, and express ourselves. If today's episode made you want to clean out your closet or just stop buying stuff that doesn't feel like you, go check out Caitlin's profile on the Pink Sphere. Follow the podcast, pass this one along to your group chat, and join us next week for another real conversation with another real woman inside the Pink Sphere. Trendy or not, wear what feels right on you. Have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.